The Los Angeles Dodgers have had starting pitchers in the All-Star game 15 times. I think it's time for Yoshinobu Yamamoto to make that 16.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. And thanks to those of you who are with us live here on this lovely Memorial Day evening. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snyder. That guy next to me is my co-host, Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like most of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room. So we bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. And today we're going to be talking about Yoshinobu Yamamoto and how I think he should be the starting pitcher in the All-Star game. Later in the second segment, we'll talk about the Dodgers offense, finally giving Yamamoto some run support in a full team effort. And then in the last segment, we'll talk a little bit about the outfield defense and what the best outfield alignment is for the Dodgers. But first, it's Yamamoto Day, and this has become a thing, Vince. Whenever Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitches, he ends up leading our show because he is just absolutely locked in, locked on, whatever you want to call it. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is the man.
He's been that guy for the Dodgers. Last time out he pitched, we talked about him being the stopper for the Dodgers when they were in the midst of a tough streak. And not so much stopper here, just 2 losses in a row, but some stability and some what you're gonna get out of him. And he did exactly that. He gave him 6 innings. He gave up 2 runs ultimately, although he probably shouldn't have give up 2 runs. They weren't entirely his fault. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy that's been like this from day one for the Dodgers. He continues to be this, and he's now set himself as the ace of the staff, even when everyone gets back healthy. Yamamoto's still that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, this Dodgers roster is built to have a ton of guys. You got Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, 2-time Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell, 3-time Cy Young Award winner Clayton Kershaw, Roki Sasaki, one of the most hyped prospects ever. All these guys, and yet Yamamoto is indisputably the top guy, even when everybody's healthy. And that's a pretty cool situation to be in. Obviously,
and he continues to make Josh Reddick look dumb for his tweet when the Dodgers signed Yamamoto.
Yeah, anytime you can make Josh Reddick look dumb, maybe that's not that hard to do. I don't know. Josh Reddick probably says dumb things on the daily, but you know what? Yeah, Josh Reddick thought the Dodgers were stupid for signing Yamamoto. Turns out, hot take, Andrew Friedman might be smarter than Josh Reddick. The only unsmart thing Andrew Friedman ever did was trade for Josh Reddick. But at least that trade also got them Rich Hill. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Yamamoto is dominant. And every time out, like, his worst start this year is one of those that, like, the Dodgers still, should win that game 9 times out of 10 with this offense. And that was, other than that, like, he's been this game. The fact that we are a little bit disappointed that he only got through 6 innings and he gave up 2 runs. I mean, that's a very, very good start. That if it had been any other pitcher on the Dodger staff, we would be celebrating. Holy crap, that was awesome. This guy's really finally starting to put it together. And Yamamoto's just like, oh yeah, his ERA went up. Oh, that's a bummer. And not in a disappointed sort of way. Really, it's just that's the standard he's set for himself, set the bar so high that it's almost impossible to reach.
Yeah, and he probably could have gotten to that 7th inning if that play hadn't happened with Teoscar with 2 outs in the 6th inning where he ended up giving up the 2nd run. So he was right there on the cusp of giving us a 7-1 like we all expected. And when you looked at the rest of his season, it's 8 earned runs in those 2 starts back-to-back he had at Arizona, and I forget the second one. And then he's had, I think, 6 or 7 total earned runs in all his other starts. So, I mean, it's one of those where he's the guy right now. And yeah, for the Dodgers, it's nice to have that. We talked about last time, Clayton Kershaw was that guy. Yamamoto's that guy now. If you're in a losing streak or if you lost a couple in a row and you have that guy coming up, I kind of feel bad for the Guardians a little bit. They had to face Tarek Skubal and Yoshinobu Yamamoto back to back. Probably the two AOs or the two starters in the All-Star game. If that's what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, that is what we're going to talk about, because the All-Star game this year, it's in Atlanta, and there's always more that goes into consideration which pitcher is going to start the game than just who's been the best so far. And the location of the game matters, but there's no, the Braves do have the reigning Cy Young Award winner in Chris Sale. He's not having a start the All-Star game worthy season.
Not even an All-Star season yet.
Yeah, they have Spencer Strider, who I think has started an All-Star game before. But Spencer Strider has been hurt most of the season, and so if he's on the All-Star team, he definitely won't be in line to start it. And so you don't have that to worry about. And then you have the fact that Yoshinobu Yamamoto's manager, Dave Roberts, will be the manager of the National League All-Star team, meaning he will choose. He doesn't have any control over the roster, but he has control over the lineup. He chooses who the starting pitcher is. And you look at, there's guys you could make a case for. Jesus Luzardo is having an awesome year with the Phillies. Zach Wheeler's having another good year, of course. Kodai Senga is the only guy in the National League with a better ERA than the Dodgers. Paul Skeens is Paul Skeens, of course. Jake Irvin is having an unexpectedly good year with the Nationals. Hunter Green obviously has been awesome this year. But, I mean, right there in there, Yamamoto's second in the league in ERA. He's second in the league in wins, if you want to talk about that, which, obviously doesn't mean a ton to as far as starting the All-Star game. But, everything that you can look at, Yamamoto's right there near the top. Throw in the fact that his manager is making the choice, seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I think it helps. When you get into this, sometimes it is, a little bit of a show or entertainment. And, I think we got that last year when Paul Skeens started the All-Star game. So, maybe Dave Roberts won't feel as compelled to have to start probably the most famous pitcher right now, or at least, the most viral or whatever you want to call it for Paul Skeens, because they got on that last year. So, yeah, Yamamoto makes sense. Obviously, we expect him to continue to do this over the next month to solidify that spot. The other guys, again, Luzardo's having a great year. Zach Wheeler's having a great year. Not as much as stars as Yamamoto is. And, I don't think that's biased. I think that's legitimate. Not a lot of people know Jesus Luzardo. Yamamoto may be more known because of the big deal he signed last year and everything else, but still, that's, well known. And, I think that assuming he keeps us up for the next month, he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, we do have a snarky comment from Matty Man in the chat. If you could imagine Matty Man being snarky, saying, yeah, winning is overrated. Oh, wrong click. There it is. No, winning is great. It's a team stat, though. That's the only thing. Winning is not an individual stat. It's a team stat. And so that's why it's discounted as far as a pitcher statistic goes. But yeah, you've got everything about it. Elisheva mentions Corbin Burns as one possibility. Burns is having a good season with the D-backs, but not so good that he is going to push his way into. And obviously, we're still a month and a half away from the All-Star game. Anything can happen between now and then, but right now Burns hasn't done anything to force his way into that conversation. Really, there's just a handful of guys who are even in consideration. And the fact that Yamamoto is one of them, and, you mentioned Skeens, like the fame side of things, but, if we're talking about globally, if we're talking about worldwide audience, I'd say more people are going to tune in for a Yoshinobu Yamamoto All-Star game start than for a Paul Skeens All-Star game start, because, Paul Skeens is famous in America and Yoshinobu Yamamoto is famous in America and Japan. And those Japanese baseball fans and Japanese people in general love their baseball and love turning on American baseball games.
Yeah, there he has a lot of boxes that are checked for Yamamoto, and it's just going to be a matter of him continuing to do this. I don't think he needs to be overwhelmingly better than everybody else in order for, people to say, oh, Dave Roberts is biased or whatever, because this has happened before in a lot of different, All-Star games, and different, managers have picked different guys. And, last year, Skeens last year, as good as he was and as hot as he started, he had like a month less than everyone else, and he still got the start. So.
Yep. Yeah. And so there's always storylines involved, and the Yamamoto storyline is one that I'm all in favor of. One of the storylines around Yamamoto this year has been that the Dodgers offense doesn't score for him. Dodgers offense said, we don't like that storyline. They did a little bit different on Monday, and it took the whole team to do it. We'll dig into that. So please keep it locked on Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you will find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. We are back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks for being every day, or if you are, thanks for being here with us live. If you're not an everyday, it's easy to become one. You just watch or listen every weekday morning. You can also go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Get text from us, one-on-one text conversations, and get access to our exclusive Locked On Dodgers Discord server where you can talk Dodgers with other Locked On Dodgers listeners. It's a lot of fun, so check that out. And for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB, hosted by our buddy Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. So the Dodgers offense this year, in most of Yoshinobu Yamamoto's starts, coincidentally or otherwise, I don't know the reason, but they haven't scored a lot for him. And in this game, it was kind of nice. The Dodgers just started scoring immediately and, scored a run in each of the first two innings. And then it looked like they might do what they've done the last couple games and then just stop scoring because they didn't score for the next two innings. But then in the fifth and sixth innings, Vince, they put up 2 runs in each of those innings. Yamamoto ended up getting 6 runs of support while he was in the game. Dodgers tacked on a 7th run in the 9th inning. 6 runs for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I mean, that's going to be a win every day of the week.
Easily. And after, yesterday's episode where we talked about how the offense was a letdown over the weekend and how they need to step up or the Dodgers aren't going to win much in this stretch without the offense. Yamamoto pitching is probably the one time where they don't have to score as much and they can still win. But ideally, this is what you get and this is what you want. And Ohtani starting off every game with the homer would be amazing. He's done it now back-to-back days. But I think the other rest of this is they had 7 runs scored. They had 7 RBIs. It was by 7 different players. They got on base a lot. They had 8 hits. They had 8 walks. There was, hits with runners in scoring position. They were 4 for 8. Like there was a combination of a lot of things you like and a lot of things you want to see. Maybe not everything you want to see, but that's the thing. Like you look up and down the lineup of how, kind of random it was. And, Mookie 1 for 5, Teo 1 for 5, Muncy 0 for 4, but all 3 drove in a run. And that's, the kind of stuff that you want to do. You're going to get opportunities throughout the game. You don't have to come through on every single one, but if you can come out on one of them and multiple people do that, that's how you score a bunch of runs. And that's how this game got going. Yeah.
Like you said, everybody on the team contributed. Everybody except Michael Conforto either drove in or scored a run or both. And Conforto was on base twice and just got erased both times on fielder's choices by Ha-Seong Kim, which then let him, that's a trade you'll make every day of the week. Who do you want on first base, Conforto or Kim? Give me the fast guy. And so Kim's run scored happened because Conforto had gotten on base ahead of him. That's why Kim was on base. And so everybody in this lineup contributed, and nobody really stood out. They had the home runs from Ohtani and Smith, which obviously home runs are always awesome because you automatically get at least 1 run for a home run. But you had a big sacrifice fly from Max Muncy after a huge, just a great at bat. It knocked the Guardians starting pitcher out of the game. He was probably coming out after that at bat anyway. But after what it was, an 11 pitch at bat from Muncy, it just locked in. The fact that they made the Guardians starter Gavin Williams throw 109 pitches to get through 4 2/3 innings. For reference, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto was at 63 pitches through 4 2/3. I made a note of it the next half inning that when he got a second out, that was his 63rd pitch. So 46 pitches ahead of Gavin Williams' pace. And just the offense wearing it down, drawing 8 walks. Their walks are a backbreaker. And we know it from when our team is doing the walking. Like, there's nothing more frustrating than a pitcher walking hitters. It's like, make them earn their way on. And yeah, a walk is earned on, a way of earning your way on. It doesn't feel like it though. And so it's very demoralizing for the pitching team to have these walks. And so that's why, like, when people talk about batting average, I'm like, you know what? Talk to me about on-base percentage, because the opposite of on-base percentage is getting out percentage, and outs are the only thing that you're actually limited on. How often do you get on base? The Dodgers had 16 base runners today, between the 8 hits and the 8 walks. That is going to be, and then they got the job done. They went 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position. So they got the big hits when they needed to. They had a ton of guys on base. They didn't hit into any double plays today. Wow. That should have been the lead story on this episode. No double plays for the Dodgers, Vince.
Yeah. It was, solid overall. And, the big thing is Ohtani got on 3 times and he scored 3 times. And that's a huge thing, especially considering, Mookie's been more down than up so far this season, or at least what we know him to be. Freddie's been solid. Teo's been good when he's been healthy. So it's just one of those things where you put more guys on base, and Ohtani hitting is obviously a big part of it, because when he's hitting, leadoff homers in back-to-back games and, having multiple hits in a couple other games over the weekend, teams will be wary of that. They might try to, not walk him on purpose, but maybe pitch around him. And, Ohtani's going to take a walk. And that's the one thing with him is he's going to take a walk if it's there. He took 2 today. And, he ended up scoring those 2. Those 2 times he ended up scoring. So it's one of those games where you like to see that from the offense. Is it going to happen all the time? Realistically, no, but it's possible. And for the Dodgers right now, we've talked about averaging 5 runs. And yeah, 5 runs most games is going to get you a win, even with the compromised pitching staff. But 7 runs just ups that percentage of the chance of you winning a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 7 runs. Obviously, the Dodgers have had a couple games this year where they scored at least 7 runs and didn't win the game. But for the most part, if you get 7 runs with this Dodgers pitching staff, you're going to win. And it was, maybe the most promising thing is that everybody did contribute. Because there are going to be some games where Ohtani does have 3 hits, and if that can be in addition to what all these other guys are doing. I believe Mookie Betts is going to break out of it. He went 1 for 5, had an RBI hit. It was awesome. Opposite field, poked it the other way and got an RBI. There's going to be games when Mookie Betts is getting more hits, and so the fact that they were able to do this without anybody having what you would call a super great game. I guess the close would be Freeman and Smith. Each had 2 hits, and then plus Freeman had 1 walk, Smith had 2 walks. So on base 7 times between the 2 of them, but really it was just up and down the lineup. And that is, in addition to the walks, that's another thing that can be demoralizing for an opposing team. It's just, wait, there are no easy outs in this lineup. Like, even Michael Conforto got on base twice. I thought that was supposed to be the soft part of this lineup, and there's just there's no break for the opposing team.
Yeah, Conforto's obviously the big question mark. There's a lot of guys that you can talk about. Conforto's obviously at the top of that list. Tommy Edman struggled a little bit since coming back. He wasn't in this game, but, just in general with the offense. And you're looking for guys to just cash in on opportunities. We're not far enough into the season yet. We've talked about this in the past. We're not far enough into the season yet where you throw out your season stats and just hope to play for the rest of the season. You can still improve your season stats at this point if you have a good rest of the year. But we're to the point where, especially right now, considering where the team is at, and we're going to keep reiterating this, but, the pitching is just not all where you want it to be in terms of health. You take advantage of a spot. Mookie goes 1 for 5, but he drives in a run. We'll take that right now. Is that ideal? No, but we're fine with it. Max Muncy goes 0-4, but drives in a run when he gets a chance. That's fine. Like, you're bringing in runs when you can. There's going to be times where, people strike out with bases loaded, but, if they can help contribute to a run at some point in the game, it's one of those where you get it.
Yeah, and the nice thing was, like, that Muncy bat is basically 1 out, and it just felt like Muncy, for all the issues, and he's not hitting the way you expect and all that, definitely not for power. But in that at bat, that plate appearance, I guess I have to call it because it wasn't technically an at bat because it was a sac fly. But when he was up there, I felt like he was going to get the job done because Muncy, for all his flaws, he is a situational hitter. He knows all I have to do right here is get the ball in the air and we're going to score a run. And so that allowed him to foul off tough pitches, foul off the pitches that weren't where he wanted. One pitch that he fouled off, he definitely felt like it should have been the sac fly pitch. And then it was 4 pitches later that he finally did get the sac fly. But, going up there and knowing worst case scenario, he walks me. I'll just battle and battle. Either he walks me and we score a run, or I get at least a ball in the air and we get a run. And that only happens because Will Smith took the walk before him to load the bases. They kept getting into situations they put Muncy in a situation to succeed even without being at his max Muncy best.
Yeah, you can't be when this offense is rolling best, it's guys not being afraid of passing the buck. And, maybe early on that was something that was happening where guys were like, I know who's batting next, and not in a bad way. That's just normal. Like, I know who's batting next. I want to try to do it now. And the Dodgers weren't taking a lot of walks early on in the season. I'd have to go back and check the numbers where they're at now, but I would imagine they're a lot better than they were before.
Yeah, we've seen them moving up the rankings and walks, which is what that's what we expect from this Dodgers team. But we're talking about putting people in position to succeed. We hinted earlier, there was the second run that Yamamoto allowed really shouldn't have happened. Teoscar Hernandez, as much as we love him when he's in the batter's box, he is a liability in the field. And it got me thinking and talking to some people about, does it make sense to have Teoscar Hernandez in right field when the Dodgers have an elite right fielder in Andy Paez? We're going to dig into that. So please keep it locked on Dodgers. We are back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks for being here with us live on this holiday Monday evening. We hope you all had a wonderful Memorial Day. It's a great holiday to spend time with those you love and watch some baseball. And watching the Dodgers play today was definitely a fun way to enjoy our Memorial Day. Vince, you did some grilling, right?
Yeah. Love getting the grill going any day of the week, but when it's a day off, even better. And looked it up right now. Dodgers are back to second in the league in walks, so where they've been the last 4 years.
Yeah, and we were like 3 or 4 weeks into the season, and they were like 28th. Yeah. It has totally stepped up. They are where we expect them to be offensively. Thanks for looking that up. That's good. Let's jump right into our last topic. In the 6th inning, Yamamoto was cruising. Looked like he could easily get through 7 innings, potentially even 8 if it was quick enough. And then, unfortunately, I think it was Jose Ramirez who hit that ball, right? I believe hit a ball to right field that should have been the 3rd out. And it dropped just in front of Teoscar Hernandez. It wasn't misplayed, unfortunately. I mean, he did misplay it after it bounced, but they gave Ramirez a double on it. And then Yamamoto gives up an RBI single afterwards. Obviously, in a perfect world, Yamamoto would be able to pick up Teo there and get the next guy out so it doesn't hurt the team. Ultimately, it didn't hurt the team anyway. The Dodgers were up 6-1 at that point, so it made it 6-2. But also in a perfect world, your outfield is able to help out your ace pitcher who absolutely did his job. Yamamoto deserved to get through that 6th inning without anything scoring. And, Teoscar just didn't get it done. And Vince, last year when Teo was playing a bad left field, he did play some right field too. And the defensive stats said that he was good in right field and bad in left field. And I don't know if you remember, Vince, we had a conversation and I talked about how I don't understand why that would be, because they're corner. Yes, the angles are different, but they're just opposite. Like there's nothing about right field, left field that should be that different. and at least not, even if you're more comfortable with one, shouldn't be so different that you are very good in one and very bad in the other. I could see being a little better in one because you're more comfortable, whatever. But I feel like what we're seeing this year is that Teoscar is just a liability in the field. And to be clear, this isn't a Teo bashing session. Teo is absolutely worth having on the team because he does make up for it with his bat. So this isn't a should we dump Teo conversation. That's not this. But what we know, Vince, is that Andy Pages is an elite right fielder. Defensively, he has the most defensive runs saved in baseball, mostly because of his time in right field. He's been solid in center field. He's elite in right field. And so, unfortunately, it's impossible to have this conversation without also bringing up Michael Conforto, because right now, Conforto's in left and Teo's in right. And so that's why Pages plays center. And when Conforto gets a day off, Pages slides over to left. But should the Dodgers be gearing their outfield around, okay, let's right where we know he's elite, and let's figure out everything else from there?
Yeah, yes. The answer is yes. The answer of them doing it is probably not right now. But if Andy Pages is going to be an everyday player, if Teoscar Hernandez is going to be an everyday player, that should, be in the corners. And then you obviously have to figure out center field. If that was the case, Pages in right, Teo in left, that means Conforto's on the bench. He's, will play every so often or whatever they, do, or even get rid of whatever happens there. But then center field becomes, a spot where you can move guys around, or even center field and third base, and second base. Like it could be just a rotating, matchup based thing if you really want to go it that way. With Edman probably playing most of those days once he gets over this ankle thing and, splitting time between second and center. Realistically, you'd want him playing second a lot of the time, but they don't necessarily have somebody to play center right now. So it's one of those tough things where, you might not be able to have elite defense at second, but you can have good defense in center, and then, strong enough defense at second with Kim or Kike or whoever, or Rojas or whoever's playing second that day. They'll get to a point where Muncy might be a platoon type guy, and maybe Kike is playing a little bit of third. Like they're not at that point yet. We'll see what they have to do over this next month if they do ever struggle at some point or lose a bunch of games in a row. But yeah, ideally, right now, Conforto out, put those guys in the corners, let center kind of work itself out.
Yeah, I see some stuff in the comments about Mookie Betts only being at shortstop because Teo needed to be in right field. I think Mookie was coming back to the infield one way or another this year. The only question was second base or shortstop, and also he's been one of the best defensive shortstops in the National League. So I'm not. He
did mention it in his pod, but you can tell how real it was, or it was just a hey, Teo, right field's here for you type thing.
Yeah, and but that's Mookie was coming to the infield anyway, and it's again this might be what ends up forcing Conforto out. Like the reason that they've been patient with Conforto, they for now will continue to be patient with Conforto, but ultimately, if they look and say we can't really afford to have bad defense in both corners and our guy who's an elite right fielder playing solid defense in center instead of elite defense in right field, that might be the thing. Ultimately, the Dodgers will continue to treat the regular season like the regular season. And we've seen this over the years with so many different guys where they give them opportunities. But it's now May 26th. We are almost to June. And June is when they start saying, okay, we got to have some results here. And with Conforto, he's on a 1-year contract. I feel like we're 2 or 3 weeks away from them saying, all right, the Michael Conforto experiment didn't work out. If some of these hard hit balls don't start falling, if he doesn't start having, some actual success, not just, the promising underlying numbers, but actual success, at some point they're going to pull the trigger. And I think that's before the All-Star break. Yeah.
Definitely before the All-Star break, because like I said, a lot of stuff has to be geared towards seeing what you have in July, by July, middle of July, whatever you want to call it, for the trade deadline, and then the Dodgers are gonna have to decide, what they want to do with. There was a high alert when Barnes and Chris Taylor were given, shown the door politely, which Chris Taylor signed with the Angels. There's nothing really for us to say other than congrats to Chris Taylor. Hope he, plays well for the Angels, and I'm glad he got to stay home or close to home, depending where he lives. But yeah, I mean, for the Dodgers, I don't, whether it's, Ohtani based because they promised Ohtani they were going to continue to try to build the best team, whether it's they know that this core three of Mookie, Freddie, and Ohtani, realistically, their primes are probably all going to be around the same time for the next 2-3 years. So you want to build around whatever it is, the Dodgers will be aggressive with it. And, for Conforto, if he's not hitting, not providing defense, there's no reason for it to be there, especially if they can move around their outfield defense and become better overall, help their pitchers out. Like, if this happens enough to where multiple pitchers are having to throw one less inning because they have to make extra pitches in other innings, then yeah, that's also something the Dodgers are going to have to consider.
Yeah, Mark asked in the comments, is it true the Dodgers promised Teo right field as part of his negotiation? I'd be shocked if they promised him that. They, probably laid out for him, look, we signed Conforto to play left so we could shift you back over to right field. That's our plan, but there is no the Dodgers promise to every pending free agent is we're going to do everything we can to win a World Series. And that's if that's Teo moving back to left field, then that's what it takes. And who knows? Maybe Andy Pages would be just as elite in left field as he is in right field. I do think because Teo has a very good arm, Pages has a great arm, and so I think Pages has more value in right field just because the throws are longer. You have more value in the better throws, but maybe they do get to a point where they look at the opposing team and, there's more lefties in the lineup, so we think there's going to be more balls hit to right field, so we put Pages in right field that day. Who knows? But all of this, maybe this just ended up being a long-winded way of saying, hey, Michael Conforto, nice knowing you. I don't know. Yeah. Because, one way or the other, whichever corners they're in, neither Teoscar Hernandez nor Andy Pages has named Michael Conforto, and that probably ought to be the corner outfielders.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of conversations end up mentioning Conforto, and they're not always or not ever really positive because there's only so much positive you can spin when we got to the point we're at with him right now.
Yep. I think that'll do it for us for today. A good win for the Dodgers to start this series. Hopefully the offense can continue to do this. The Guardians don't have great starting pitching, and so the Dodgers got to Gavin Williams. They can get to Tanner Bybee. They can get to whoever they have. It's just a matter of will they, and hopefully the starting pitching can do their jobs and everything comes together for a really good series to finish off this road trip. You got anything else for today, Vince?
3:00 starts are interesting. The Dodgers played and everything happened, and then it was still light out in LA for like 2 or 3 more hours. So.
Yeah, and it's weird for us trying to figure out what time to do this live show because it's like feels like we had to go live right after the game, but it's like it's still daytime outside. This is a nighttime podcast,
Yeah.
Dodgers late night. Then we should change our name to. Anyway, that'll do it for us for today. Thank you all for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen or your last listen. Thanks for being an everydayer. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. You can make that easy on yourself by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening right now. Also, be sure to check out the Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game with commentary from the local experts from all the different Locked On shows. You can find that on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you get podcasts. You can also go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Text directly with us, one-on-one conversations, access to our Discord server, all that good stuff. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSince91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog, and both of our DMs are open there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.